sacrifice is a tax that you pay for ambition.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean by that?
Right.
So no matter what the situation is, if we're talking about the cost of success, something is always going to bleed. It could be
Someone's got to give.
Relationship, it could be money, it could be time, but something is always going to happen. And here's the reality, and some people might not be able to agree with me on this, but I think that a lot of times, especially when it comes to success, people preach the whole work-life balance. And I think work-life balance is overrated.
I think it's a scam, actually.
I think there's a season for each, right?
Yeah.
There's a season for things.
Yeah.
There's a season. Like, yes, yours might be once in a year or once in a 5 year. Mine's a once in a lifetime. Mm-hmm. And if it roles are reversed, I wouldn't expect that from you either.
Mm-hmm. See,
that's what I'm trying to say. You should have that understanding.
So what I'm trying to say is that you need to have that communication.
Yeah.
Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Grind.
BTG.
Hey, our podcast is for aspiring entrepreneurs, ambitious employees, and entrepreneurs themselves. And if you like what we're going to be talking about or what we've talked about in the past, please make sure to smash that like and subscribe button and make sure to share this with all of your friends and family out there.
Boom.
My name is Tosin.
My name is Kay.
I'm Alan.
And today, I think, one thing that's been on my mind recently is that there's a cost to success.
100%.
There's a cost to success. And, I'm not too many. I mean, all of y'all know out there, I'm not too much on social media, but sometimes when I do jump on there, people just make it look easy. They're out there like, yeah, I'm out here grinding. I'm living offshore and I'm making $1 million a minute, and all this. I'm like, what? Like, there's a cost to getting there. From my experience and in that journey towards success, and I'm still running, all right, there's a cost to it. And a lot of times I see people, or I know of people that may not be willing to pay that price.
Yes and no. But I feel like there is a cost to success, but the main thing I would say is that if you stay on social media, you're not paying the cost. You're paying a different cost.
I mean, what if
what I mean?
Well, what if they're using it to promote their hustle, you never know.
So
right?
even me, I detox from social
attention.
media sometimes, right? Because sometimes it's, to be honest, it's getting to be a lot sometimes, right? It's like, I would say that we're not mentally, and this is off topic. I don't think that our mind has evolved enough to keep up with what social media does to us. We don't even know what it does to our brain, so early. So sometimes I try to detox from it because it's like mentally draining and it weighs on your psyche more than you would think. But to piggyback on what you said, the cost of success, I think I'm going to kind of pick the other end of it, which is, even though there's a cost of success, I think people promote the cost of success too much, right? They're constantly like grinding, turning gears till they like just, I'm up at 5 a.m. Why? Because you're not. Like, type of mentality.
Early bird gets the worm.
Shout out to David Goggins, but like I love him, but sometimes I feel like, that's that might be him, but there has to be a purpose, right? You can't just grind your gears until there's nothing left, right? There's a time let me rephrase that. When you're grinding so long, sometimes you forget the core values that you had when you started grinding. So there's a time for grinding, and there's time to take a step back, reset, retool, rehash the core things that got you there. Because you get lost in the grind that sometimes you forget, like, I'm not doing anything well. I'm just doing everything, but nothing well. I'm just grinding myself to nothing. So that's something that I feel like You know, that happens to me sometimes, and I'm sure it happens to many people. But sometimes it's hard to realize and recognize that, like, you're not efficient. You're not effective. You're just grinding, yes, but you're not efficient and effective.
Well, I think you've helped me articulate it a little bit better, that it's not maybe the cost of success. Maybe it's like the sacrifices you have to make to succeed.
Right.
I think that'll be a better way of interpreting what I was trying to say.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. Like, sacrifice is a tax that you pay for ambition.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean by that?
Right.
So no matter what the situation is, if we're talking about the cost of success, you know, something is always going to bleed. It could be
Someone's gotta give.
relationship, you know, it could be money, it could be time, but something is always going to happen. And here's the reality, and some people might not be able to agree with me on this, but I think that a lot of times, you know, especially when it comes to success, people preach the whole work-life balance. And I think work-life balance is overrated.
I think it's a scam,
I
actually.
think there's a season for each, right?
Yeah.
There's a season for things. There's a season. But it has to be in seasons, right?
Well, here's my opinion. I think that balance is really for people that don't want it bad enough.
That's so funny. I was just saying that the other day.
And the reason why I think that way, now check this out, because I know
let him land the plane.
I know you're going to disagree on it, right? But, you know, I was watching an interview by Mark Cuban one time, right? And Mark Cuban talked about when he was building his internet company. I think he was doing something with streaming, right? And he was talking about how he lived and breathed.
I saw that same one.
Like his business. Like he didn't care about nothing else because nothing else mattered, right? He was so like consumed with what he was building that sometimes he will forget to eat. And what people don't realize is that
That's normal though when you're hustling, right? When
Right.
you're really in the zone.
people don't
Not saying
realize
it's good, but
when you get to a certain stage, you can easily sit back and look at life from a holistic perspective and say, you got to have balance. You got to do this, but you got to do that.
the nice stuff, right?
But man,
you
forget
wasn't
all
doing
that,
that
man.
when you was grinding.
Because the reality is, like, I'll give you a prime example. You're a married man. You have kids.
Yep.
You have a wife. That means that you have obligations, right?
Yep.
Right.
And a lot of times what we focus on is what we have deemed as what is the most valuable thing to us. Now, assuming that when you first started your business, you didn't have a wife, you didn't have kids, guess what? Your business is going to
It's gonna be
consume you.
everything. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you started your business once you got married and you have kids, guess what? You won't be able to put that much energy and time into your business because
Correct.
now you got to spread it around. But
Correct.
you know what? That's going to slow your growth into where you want to get your business to be.
Or speed it up because it might motivate them.
No, I don't think so. Because
Or maybe you just need to be capitalized properly and bring the right team.
Maybe
You know?
I want to say this. I know people who were more productive when they had a family because it allowed them. Okay, I only got this much amount of time.
no, they
So
were more productive
no,
because
they worked out how to be efficient. That had they not been put in those situations, they wouldn't have learned how to be efficient and learn how to scale. They would have been still grinding.
what if I told you that family first is a myth? And every time you are in a position where you 100% put your family first, you're not going to reach, success.
I mean, I think that's a.
I don't.
That's a.
So let me
pigeonhole.
That's a generalization.
Yeah,
okay. Let me be more specific.
situational,
Let me be
yes.
more specific. Okay. Who's an entrepreneur that you look up to?
Me. No, I'm just kidding.
That you like, man, this guy knows his stuff. Or I would love to meet this guy one day.
I don't know.
He looks
don't
up
think
to
I have
himself. He looks up to
you
himself.
don't- okay. So
No, but I mean, I get inspiration.
okay, who do you get inspiration from?
Right now, who's your inspiration? You could say in the last month. Let's make
Let's
it
say
easier.
Warren Buffett.
Okay.
You know,
I'll go Warren Buffett. So follow me on this. So your wife hit you up and said, hey, babe, on February the 27th, I have something and I'm going to need your help. I need you to do A, B, C. And you say, cool, I got you. Hey, this thing is important, so I need you to not drop the ball. Cool. On that day, Warren Buffett called you and said,
That's not
I got a
even the
10
same.
million.
Don't worry, I got him.
I got a $10 million.
I already know what you're gonna say.
I'm ready
I got a
for
$10
him.
million contract for you,
Who me gonna come with him?
and I need you to come over. I got a show for you to do. After the show,
That's not even.
you're gonna sign it. What you gonna do?
Number one,
That's not even like. That's not even equal.
it's, an,
No.
it's an easy one.
Easy
Okay,
one.
go ahead.
Right. It's important to my wife, but it doesn't mean I have to do it. I've got an admin that can help me.
No. Your wife said
says-
only you can do it. Meaning that your presence is needed. It's you that she wants, not the actual thing. What you gonna do, bro?
It depends on what stage of life I'm in at that point.
You see what I mean?
I think right
You
now.
just answered my question.
No, that's what
I think what is so important that
the reality is that I would have run it by her and told her that, hey,
she
yo,
would have been like,
you
yeah.
know, we got a $10 million deal. She would be like,
what are you doing on the boat?
like, yeah, you know, are you ready? Do we need me to accept you? You know?
Exactly. But see, you spoke about that.
But you
as-
have, that
wait,
wasn't
hold-
equal though.
hold on.
You have to make it closer. Is what
But you
I'm trying
spoke
to say.
about that as somebody who's married to a wife that's reasonable.
Right.
Not all family members are reasonable.
You're right.
Some people might say, yeah, even though this thing is important, it might not be 10 million. It might just be something that's really, really important to you.
Yeah.
And they might say, well, yeah, but this is important to me. So you need to let that go.
Can I
We're
preface
going to
that by
digress
saying?
here, but why don't they know it's important
Wait,
to you?
can I
That's
also
go ahead.
say that like
Go ahead.
I think that's such a whole topic actually. That's
Yeah,
a whole
you know,
different
because
topic.
I was about to
It's
say,
a million different ways, but
I mean, because we're talking
but,
about
like, no,
the
no.
cost of success.
I think
Yes.
it depends on, is this opportunity once in a lifetime repeatable, or is this the opportunity gonna be here next week?
Once in a lifetime.
Okay, then anybody I would imagine in your corner would understand, like, yes, yours might be once in a year or once in a 5 year. Mine's a once in a lifetime. And if it rolls or reverse, I wouldn't expect that from you either.
See,
That's what I'm trying to say. You
So
should
what-
have that understanding.
So what I'm trying to say is that you need to have that communication as you are going through this
Yeah. And he
journey
said
of
you
success.
call her immediately. That's what he said.
It's not the day that this opportunity shows up that you start talking about,
Right.
oh, these are my dreams, these are my wants, this is the roadmap that I've built, this is the type of success I see for us, especially if you're talking
Right.
in a family situation, so that when that opportunity presents, it's not blindsiding the partner.
But you guys are answering this question as sensible people. But what I'm telling you is there are some folks,
you're right.
that,
I know.
that look at this from a black and white, like, I'm gonna put family over everything. So that means that, even if an opportunity presents itself, you're not
That
gonna have a
you've been working
conversation
for it till you're-
to be
No.
reasonable. Like, no, it's either family
and it's
or
not even-
nothing.
No, the reality is they haven't been approached.
Yeah.
That's it. They haven't been approached by that type of opportunity that's going to make them question.
So I
think they also haven't had these conversations.
So I got a quick example for you, right? I was working with a young fella, and they were going to have a board meeting, and that board meeting was going to change the trajectory of his company,
yeah.
and it was very, very important. And his wife reached out to him like, "I need you right now." Like, I don't know. He didn't discuss the
Unless
details.
it's your kid in
but
the
she said,
hospital.
I mean, yeah,
she
it could have been an
she
emergency.
said, "I need you right now," right? And I basically said, "Okay, can't you just finish the presentation and then
Dash out.
dash out?" He said, "Nah." He said, "Family over everything," and he just left out.
So, I mean,
and guess what? The deal was given to somebody else.
Yeah, of course. But
what
he
was
was
the
willing
issue
to
that
give
he
that
left
up.
for?
That's what I'm trying
Well,
to say.
I never.
His kid might be in a hospital, a car accident,
I mean, let's say, what if, like,
But
it could have
but
been
when he
urgent.
came back, it was not an emergency.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know.
You get what I'm saying? But you sometimes you don't want to get into folks' business. But I said,
They're
hey,
watching this, so-
everything okay? Was it? I mean, this was about 10 years ago. So
Oh, okay,
I said, everything okay? Was it an emergency? No, apparently it was not an emergency. But
Apparently, no, we need to have a conversation.
I was
Me and the
like,
wifey
I
then.
guess because we're
You know?
reasonable, because we wouldn't expect that of anyone, right? If
Yeah.
this is your dream and you've been working for it so hard, and you tell me it's one of two things. On one end, the wife didn't understand the importance of this to
Did she
level
even
out.
know?
That's what I'm trying to say.
She might not even
Did
know
he
that-
even present the significance and importance of this to her? Was she prepped up like, this is what I'm working towards? You know what I mean?
Right.
I
Man.
don't think a reasonable person on average would take you away from something that they could have handled without
How
you.
many?
Because I wouldn't.
How many?
And you
how
wouldn't.
many times do you
and
run
wouldn't.
across people that are unreasonable though?
No, but that's why I said communication was very
It's-
important.
communication.
This board meeting wasn't just set up like an hour ago.
No, this
Right.
board meeting has been set up in the calendar for the past 2 weeks.
Why didn't he talk to his wife the whole time? Hey, I need you to help me pray. Like that, I mean, like something,
Right.
Like make it show that it's like
He's on
it's
the
a
team
make
game. Yeah, he's
man, you know.
Look, man, behind every great
time we
man
pray
is
as
a strong
family,
woman.
Lord, there's a board meeting coming up in 2
Exactly.
weeks. Lord, there's a board meeting
Yeah.
coming up in 7 days. We pray every single day so that everybody in the family knows
Right.
how important that is.
Right. And obviously
And vice versa.
Yeah, and
when
vice-
she has
I
things
want
too,
her
yeah.
to do the
right.
same
and,
thing.
and obviously I
you
agree
know?
with you guys. I just wanted to play devil's advocate because I do understand that not everybody thinks like that, right? But I think the core focus is understanding that it's okay to have seasons where you're
Seasons again.
consumed
Yes.
by something and you have to be okay with the cost of, because somebody told me, somebody said every time you say yes to something, you're
say
indirectly
no
saying no to
something.
something
Something
else.
else, yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
you have to pick
Everything in your life is not going to get 100% of your effort
all the time.
all the time,
Yes.
right?
There's a season.
Right.
There's
Even
seasons.
with the whole family situation, like you're always going to say yes to your family, but not 100% of the time,
Yeah,
because you're
of course.
always going to look at things
You gotta
from a
provide for
balanced
them at some point.
perspective. You know, what's look at let's look at it from a holistic perspective. Like, can I get back to this and they will still be okay? Does
Yeah.
that make sense? Right?
Yeah.
Kind of like what you're talking about, right? Like, hey, I'm gonna do the meeting and I'm gonna dash out, right? Rather than just, because life is not black and white.
No.
There's so
No.
many gray areas. And for people out there, like, people need to understand the importance of knowing that, look, don't let anybody make you feel any sort of guilt for
Yeah.
you being so consuming. Just say, hey, look, I'm in a season. Like, there are times where you're going to be building something where you're not going to be on social media. You're not going to be, nobody's going to know what you're doing. People,
That's right.
bro, what happened? Where you been
Growing
at?
in the dark, right?
You're building.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
So that's how I look at it.
No, I would say I'm with you on that seasonality. Like, Kobe said, like, the great late Kobe said, pretty much whenever he was hooping, anybody who knew him already knew he was about basketball. Like, this was it. He was like, I had a conversation with my friends, my family. Yo, you're not
Had
gonna
the
see me.
conversation.
You're not gonna see me. Like, they weren't mad, and when I see them or whatever, we pick right back up or whatever. They understand that I missed these events or whatever because I'm doing this. And he was like, when I was done with basketball, I love basketball, but y'all gonna have to wait. I gotta go hang out with my family.
Yeah.
Like, you see what I mean? Like, I'm not saying copy that. I'm just saying there is a seasonality.
Yeah.
But the key there is understanding. And if you don't have these conversations with people so they can understand, like, what the important moments, some of the, I do think some people make every moment important, right? And it comes off a little bit selfish, right?
Yeah.
But
But we're all
but-
selfish in some way. shape,
yeah,
or
but
form.
Some
you
point.
have to communicate what things are important so they know when to pull that emergency
Right.
card and when not. Like, don't call me and say if it's an emergency and it's not.
Right.
Like, just because you wanted me there, and I'm like because I wouldn't do that to you, especially when I know something's important to you.
Yeah.
Can I give you guys a real story?
Sure.
So I've been running, our CPA firm for, I don't know now, maybe 15, 16 years.
I like the way you said our CPA firm. 'cause we in this.
Yeah, we're partners.
And-
You didn't know.
Let's say like the first 15 years, it's been that grind. It's been that late nights, coming home late and all that stuff. And about a year ago, a little over a year ago, after, one of our last acquisitions, it felt like we got the right team in place.
Yeah.
Some stability.
And I started to get more and more time. That even now at that point, when we were going on vacation.
You feeling guilty?
My wife was noticing that I don't have my laptop.
Oh.
So then this past Christmas, she came to the Christmas gathering that we had, the dinner that we had with everybody. And she told them that, I appreciate all of you guys because, he's at least present on these vacations now.
And that's hard to do.
Yeah.
Because you can't, usually when you go on vacation or anybody who owns a business, it's like, you almost you turn off your computer, turn off your phone on airplane mode, they'll try to call your wife.
But see, the thing is,
they don't know the boundaries.
For the fact that his wife even said that, right?
Yeah.
It goes to show you what she perceived as in what state of mind he was, at the time he was making the sacrifice.
But she gets it.
Yeah.
No, there's more. There's more
Okay.
to the story.
Uh-huh.
All right. So now fast forward up to maybe a couple months ago. And now I have even more time, right? Because the team is functioning
back to
now.
work.
I can kind of, look at doing some more things that I've always wanted to do.
Right.
But then we had this conversation, me and my wife, and she's like, wait, as you're getting more and more availability,
Put more and more on your
you
plate.
can't put more things that you want to do. You've got to now look at, hey, carrying the family now.
Like, what
Right?
can we
Because it's not, oh, I've got a little bit more time. What can I fill up with it? Right? It's got to be, what can we fill up as a family?
Okay.
Because the sacrifice, that season where you were gone, working late, coming back home 10, whatever.
We were holding down the fort without you.
Right? The fort was being held down, but if you've got time now,
She want to see the ROI.
Yeah.
preach it. So it got me thinking about this whole, sacrifice for success and all that stuff. And as you guys are mentioning seasons, it kind of brought this story back to my mind. Like, hey, at some point, you've got to shift a little bit.
Yeah.
There's that season. You don't know how long the seasons are going to be.
Exactly.
Right. So, that one for the business, we were just trying to get off the ground and going. It took about 14 whatever years, from doing it part-time to having the greatest team that can handle it on their own. And now that we're out of that season, it doesn't mean that the hustle has stopped.
Yeah.
It just changed.
Yes.
My role is changing. Right. But as I'm having a little bit more availability where I don't want to show an example especially to my team. I don't want to burn them out and say, everybody's got to be here till 10 p.m.
Right.
Everybody. So I have to also decide that, you know what? It's 6 o'clock. We got to go.
Yeah.
It's 5 o'clock.
Make
We
that
got to go.
culture.
And
So-
build that culture just because, I know I'm digressing now, but the CPA industry, it's all about, late hours, and we're losing good people.
Yeah.
So I want to build a different culture and I
think-
can't show them that example.
I think you have to set the precedent. So one thing I learned is that when we would answer every call, people would always call us late and always try to come the worst hours that I'm like, one day I said, especially recently, I said, yo, enough is enough. We're not doing, we have these 2 late hours and that's it.
Yeah.
It can wait. It was waiting before, before you met it. We can't completely burn ourselves to nothing for everyone else because you have to set that precedence. 1, for your staff because they'll get burnt out.
Yeah.
2, for yourself and your family. 3, I would say more so they understand where the line is. If you don't have a line, show people where the line is, they'll keep pushing it.
Yeah.
So, I let patients know hey, we're here these 2 days on this time and that's for these procedures. So that's it. And it's not that I just have to be mindful because it's yes, we are being available like you are to help other people. But at the same time, if I get burnt out and can't deliver, you go to the next person. So I got to save enough in my tank for myself and to be able to serve you good quality and good, be efficient and effective rather than just dragging my feet because I'm burnt out.
So I have a question for you guys, because we're talking about these seasons, right? And if you got to sacrifice for a season, I think we need to define what we mean by season, right? I don't think it's, you can't go into a season without knowing what the end goal looks like,
right?
What that success looks like. So I want us to give maybe a few pointers of how people can, one, prepare as they go into that season, and also define what my outcome should look like.
Right.
I gotta say,
Well, let me start with Kate real quick.
So I think for me, I would look at it from two angles. A season can either be defined by an outcome, or it can be defined by time, right? Outcome meaning that, hey, maybe I'm trying to get my PhD or I'm trying to get my master's, right? That one is quite straightforward, right? It's a 2-year course. So during the season,
Push through it.
like I'm just pushing through it, right? Or it could be maybe I'm building a company and I just need to get that company to X revenue, right? So it's not time based, it's outcome based. And at that point, I'm keeping my nose down and I'm just essentially grinding. So I think at the end of the day, depending on where you are in your life, so if you're by yourself, then you need to ask yourself the question like, what's a realistic state for you? Is it time or is it outcome? Meaning that, because sometimes time might not be on your side, right? Because maybe you might have other opportunities that you can potentially take advantage of. If you're not alone and you do have a partner, then having that conversation with your partner to be able to say, hey, this is what I'm looking at. What does your bandwidth look like? I want to do this thing. It looks like it's going to be about 6 months to a year. Are you good with a year? And at that point, if she's like, no, I can't do a year, 6 months is all I got, then you can kind of recreate your goal to fit within that 6 month so that you can still do what you need to do. So ultimately, I think people should be assessing their situation in terms of whether they're by themselves or they have a partner. And then number 2, they need to be assessing what they feel comfortable with.
All right.
Yeah, no, I agree. Basically what he said, but
really?
to get a twist on it is that more so you have to kind of, for me, it's going to be freedom, right? Like you said, freedom of time, freedom of just money, right? Financial freedom. So those are two biggest things I feel like for most people, right? And then the freedom of just being able to think and not need anything to be, I think the ultimate height of freedoms for me is when I'm now able to have time, have financial freedom. And
that's a long season though.
Let me finish. I'm saying there are multiple seasons in my hierarchy.
Okay.
The financial is the first one for most people, right? The next one's going to be time. And I think the next one's, for me, the most important, the top tier is where you're free to now help others. And it does not even give you any monetary. It doesn't matter if you get paid or not.
No.
It doesn't matter, you have enough time just to help others.
There's no benefit.
The only benefit is that you're paying it forward and helping others in something because you don't need anything. But I would say all of that takes discipline. And I was watching this thing with Eliud Kipchoge, the marathon runner. Yeah, he's like notorious for just being disciplined. And he has a saying that says, only the disciplined people in life are truly free. So basically your path to liberation is having discipline. You're not going to be great at something in that season only just by, a short burst. It's a season of consistency, and you keep doing the same little things. Get better at doing the little things. Don't have to be great at everything, but be good at the little things. And that is the quickest way to achieve your goal and have freedom, even freedoms of time, right? If you're disciplined, then you can, in your day, then you can plan out, I know this is this time for this. You know what I mean? But I agree with you that you have to set the expectations. What does that look like as far as financial freedom? Does that mean a numerical value that I have to make per year, per month? Does that mean I need to have this amount set aside in my retirement or bank account? Does that mean I'm able to send my kids to this school? You have to define what it is. Otherwise, like Tosin started a conversation out with, which he's going to close us out, is you'll just be running and burning and grinding for no reason. You're just running in circles because you don't have any direction.
Yeah.
So
You got anything to add before I close this out?
No, that's pretty much it. That was the question that I had, to make sure that people understand that, hey, yes, there is some kind of sacrifice towards success.
Yeah.
But having those tools that will help them.
Yeah. So I mean,
go ahead.
as you guys heard, sorry, I don't know why I just but you guys have heard it here. Sacrifice is not sexy. You know, it could get lonely. You know, it could get messy. And ultimately, what it really does is it exposes what you truly value, you know. But I think the key thing we're trying to communicate here is that there are going to be seasons, right? And it's okay to be immersed in whatever you got going on, but just make sure that in that season, you know, you are able to define what that season looked like for you, and you're able to stick to that, right? We would love to hear from you guys. If you can drop it in the comment section, you know, what does sacrifice look like for you? What type of sacrifice are you making to be successful? And how are you defining what the outcome look like? You know, we want to hear from you guys. Really thank you guys again for watching our podcast. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. You can also find us on social media and all platforms, and on our website at gobeyondthegrind.com. Once again, my name is Kay.
I'm Alan.
And I'm Tosin.
And until next time, peace out.